So you can see here the verticality of this little blue stem here in this tray, and you know, somewhat the verticality too of the wedge grass right here, how these leaves, you know, tend to be fairly vertical. And I think it makes it real easy to see that, you know, when you have wildflowers in this field, that some of these wildflowers, they tend to have more horizontal leaves. So they're just soaking up more sunshine, you know, between these grasses, you know, because they're not all growing at the same time. The warm season and the cool season, there's not a lot of overlapping periods. So some of these wildflowers then are overlapping these cool season grasses during the summer growing season, and they're actually just soaking up more sunshine. So I see this here relationship, you know, with all of these plants growing together as being symbiotic and actually just soaking up more sunshine. Also, some of the flower roots, not all of them, but some of the wildflower roots actually spread by a rhizome, and this rhizome, part of it dies every year, but it regenerates a new root, and on these new roots come the new stems and leaves and flowers for the next year. So when these roots die, they're actually adding carbon or organic matter to the soil a lot quicker than what the residue on top of the ground can do, the residue that's left from those stems. And of course then these stems and the wildflower leaves are just very important to wildlife. It's overhead protection for quail when they're out there in the summertime with their brood. It gives them thermal cover. They need shade, and it gives them protection, you know, from hawks and other wildlife. So, you know, I believe pollinators are important too. And there's two plants that I've noticed that my cattle really don't like to eat, and that's hairy mountain mint and wild bergamot. And you know, when I study these plants though, I see their root systems really aren't that deep compared to what, say, big blue stem can be. Big blue stem can have a root system, depending on the soil, you know, 3 to 5 feet deep and even deeper in better, deeper soils. So are we really worried about the hairy mountain mint and the bergamot taking over and our planting? And so I think some of these pollinator species, especially, you know, we might want to consider them in our riparian areas that we're not going to graze quite as hard. And we want that extra residue, that extra cover on the ground to protect the soil, you know, between the grazing periods. Same thing, I've used bergamot on some of my pond dams. It tolerates a little bit more drier soils. So I've used it on my pond dams. I do graze these dams occasionally, and I see that it's really not spreading that much out into my fields. You know, so pollinators are just another ecosystem benefit, you know, to that diverse natives have. So diversity, it's good for our cattle, it's good for soil health, it's good for birds, it's good for beef, and it's good for butterflies.